Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to CFL Central, CFL content for the fans, by the fans, and we have our preview week 5 of CFL action. We are back to 4 games a week, and our first game here is going to be the Edmonton Elks versus the Saskatchewan Roughriders, this time in Saskatchewan. So the question is that if the Edmonton Elks are on the 1-yard line, are they as screwed as they were last time they played Saskatchewan? It's not looking great for the Elks. I mean, because if you like, the Riders just coming off a bye week that they had here, we're actually performing decently well going into it though. And it's one of those things where I think the Riders have improved since their game against the Elks, and the Elks haven't. They lost 26-7 against the Ottawa Redblacks, which is the team that they had a chance to get a victory over, and I don't see it happening here as much as I would love for it to happen because, you know, Saskatchewan loses, lol. I don't know. How we feeling here, Rick?
So my fight for Ford has finally begun. He is the third string quarterback who deserves better.
Oh, yes?
And the man who could not get into the end zone on the 1-yard line is no longer part of Edmonton. He's another team's problem, which we'll get into later on today.
Yeah, well, the Chris Jones problem is still like lingering over all of this, but you know.
Now, the big question is, who's going to be missed more? Lewis in Edmonton or Winnipeg in Saskatchewan? Because
Lewis and Edmonton. Lewis and Edmonton. You know why? Because Saskatchewan at least has someone else. They have Dunbar, but they haven't used him. And even if they try to use him, like the Riders were able to play actually decent coverage at some times. You know? So it's one of those things where I do not see a scenario where the Elks win this game. I see a scenario where the Elks make it close. Win though in Saskatchewan.
Here's my theory is I will go back to a couple of weeks ago when they barely lost 13 points against Toronto. And yes, I know Dodge.
But then look at last week. They got a touchdown against Ottawa and gave up 26 points. And the thing is that one of those touchdowns that they got against Toronto, that ball bounced off of like 3 different guys that could have gotten a pick and just happened to land in the receiver's hands. Like that ball had pick written all over it, but it just happened to be a touchdown for them. So as much as they were able to get those points, there was some luck in that.
And have you looked at the Saskatchewan injury list this week?
I have not. Enlighten me, please.
I will say they have. Let me just pull it up here. Let me go here. They have. Oh my Lord. Carter, let me send you this on Discord.
Let's see this.
I'm doing a YouTube video.
Hey, Rick. Let's calm it down.
Well, no, someone that was talking to me in the background.
I see. Let's see.
Okay. So if you go to your Discord, click on the link.
Yeah, no, and then okay, so
look at their long list. Their long list.
They got Lothar out, Micah Johnson, that hurts. Amari Henderson, Anthony Lanier, Jeremy Clark, Jake Wieneke. That's actually Jeremy Clark is a healthy scratch. Non-injury related. But like there's just so many oh boy. Yeah, this doesn't look good.
This doesn't even include their 6-game IL players.
Oh God. I don't even want to know what that is. They really should put those next to each other on those sorts of things, but it is what it is. Yeah, I just like if I'm thinking about this game, I don't know how the Elks win. I don't. I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced, and I don't like the Riders. And maybe they'll have Trevor Harris stay in on short yardage when he really shouldn't, because that'd be a Craig Dickinson move to do. And then he gets he tears his ACL and is out for 17 years or whatever the hell it is. And then maybe Edmonton miraculously Chris Jones is their way to a victory, as much as that doesn't make any sense. But then again, Craig Dickinson doesn't make any sense either. So it's the battle of shit coaching today that we're going to have going to this Thursday of no one being let's be real here. If we're doing the bottom two coaches of the CFL, I think we got numbers 1 and 2 playing in this game.
Yes, Steinhardt's not one of them.
No, but that play with Trevor Harris, and then after Trevor Harris gets injured, Craig Dickinson's like, yeah, no, that was the right play. He maybe just should have thrown it away earlier. I'm like, you're going to blame him for this bullshit? You're going to blame him for this? You were the idiot who thought of this play.
Are you talking about the one where he threw the ball when it was 12 seconds left?
Yeah, because he was trying to kill time, but all he did was injure his starting quarterback.
Wow.
That's a coaching error. That is 100% a coaching error. But I digress. But so the point is, though, who do we got winning this game? Saskatchewan. What about you?
You know what? I just have a funny feeling that if Edmonton is going to beat anyone,
it's going to be Saskatchewan on the road.
Yes. And I am going to keep on drinking that Edmonton Kool-Aid. And I am going to go with the corn dog.
I'm just imagining Chris Jones smash through the wall. Oh yeah.
Well, because at some point they're not going to go 0-18 this year.
Are you sure?
They have to be.
Do they?
I've never seen anyone, for as long as I've been following the NFL, I've never seen.
What about the Cleveland Browns? Did they not have that season where they went 0-18 or something like that?
Okay, they also make 10 times the amount than CFL.
I've never seen it before. Carter names one thing.
Hey, we're talking
I've
CFL
never
here.
seen it twice.
Okay, in a Chris Jones era, I've never seen
it. Yeah, well, if anyone's gonna get it done, it's gonna be Chris Jones. But let's get on to our next game of the week, which is the Calgary Stampeders against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. So this is a game I'm excited for. Bombers coming off after a big win against the Alouettes, where the defense kicked it back into form. A little bit of struggles on offense, but overall not too bad. Just that you would hope for a bit more production out of them. When it comes to the Stampeders, I heard that Reggie Begelton is going to be ready for this game. That is if Jake Mayer is able to throw a straight and direct pass that doesn't get intercepted, that arrives to the hands of his receivers. And I'm generally pleased with the pressure that the defense, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, were able to apply last week. Having Jackson Jeffcoat back in the line really invigorated guys like Jake Thomas, guys like Willie Jefferson especially, even when he was running with his helmet on sideways for one of the plays. He was able to still cause some problems. But overall, this is a game where I expect that the Bombers are going to try to build off their success that they had this past week. They're going to try to keep that going, And the Stamps, the Stamps are kind of strange in the sense of where they're very much similar to the Riders in terms of the kind of the boat they're on. They didn't play last week as well, so they had time to study up on some film for the Bombers, maybe introduce a few new plays. Overall, I, as a Bomber fan, feel pretty solid for this game. I feel like this is a game that we should win. It's a game that is winnable. On the Stampeder side of things, if you're wanting to stop the Bombers, if you can hold them to 17 points like the Alouettes were able to do, that's a win. And then at that point, you have to be able to rely on your offense to be able to generate something. Because realistically, are you going to hold the Bombers to less than 17 points of the game? Pretty unlikely. It's pretty unlikely. The Lions were able to get it done. The Lions, the thing that the Lions are compared to the Calgary Stampeders are, what is it, a better football team? Yes, that's the right word for it. And so so I think if you're the Stampeders, the number one focus you're going to have is getting enough offense against the Bombers and not letting them kind of get into form the way they were last week against the Alouettes. What do you think about this game?
So looking at this game just from an injuries perspective, they have Bagleton back.
Yep.
But they also lose Peyton Logan. So they only have one running back in Mills. That's it.
And that's actually
joins carry on the IR.
And that's actually something I've been relatively happy with when it comes to the Bombers, is that despite the fact that, I've talked time and time again about the depth of that receiving core, Brady Oliveira has been absolutely tearing it up in the running game. Having, he's still the only running back in the league to have 2 games where has over 100 yards rushing. And it's one of those things where the Calgary Stampeders, it's funny because they didn't really bring in that much this past offseason. They more just kind of lost guys and are trying to fill in gaps from guys that signed elsewhere in free agency. And I'm going to be curious to see against the offensive might of the Bombers if the Bombers are able to get back in form offensively, which I think they will, especially at home, as they typically their offense plays a bit better when they're at home. I don't know how the Stamps will be able to hold up against that. And it's one of those things where I think the Stampeders have an opportunity of making this game somewhat close, maybe, within 10 points, but I don't see a scenario where the Stampeders are able to shock the Bombers the way that the Lions were. That's just kind of where I stand on it a bit. What do you think, Rick?
Well, also I don't know if you have been reading, but Big Hill is listed as questionable because he's been limited.
Well, do you know why?
They say hit.
Well, there's that, but then also there's like his father passed away just today.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
rest in peace to Adam Big Hill's father, and condolences with the family. That's absolute absolute tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's just terrible news to hear. But
hey, question.
Yep.
So Drew Brown, he did not practice at all. He's a non-injury related. So does that mean that you guys bring back your good old second string quarterback that you guys brought back
Dakota
the other day as a second string short yardage?
Well, he always, because that's the thing. Dakota Prukop, we would always have do short yardage. Drew Brown would be there, and he would dress, and he would be our number 2 in the sense of if Zach Caleros were to go down and we needed a guy to be our starting quarterback, then Drew Brown goes in. If we're running short yardage, we're putting Dakota Prukop in that position all day long, as Dakota Prukop was able to have so much success rushing that they didn't rush him into that spot when he necessarily got back. So they had Drew Brown kind of do a bit of that until Prukop kind of got into the fold. But we're starting to get to the point where I think the Bombers, especially when it comes to short yardage, will be looking to ideally use Dakota Prukop. This is what happens when we record so late. This is my fault, by the way. I know it's my fault. So I'm not gonna bullshit my way out of it. But yeah, I mean, end of the day, I expect that the Bombers will win this game. What do you think?
I am not going to be on that crazy juice 2 games in a row for Alberta teams. I'm going Winnipeg.
Oh, I thought you were going against the Bombers for a second. I'm like, crazy juice. Who is this guy talking about? So now we have our next game of the week. Now, this will be interesting. Ottawa versus Hamilton. Hamilton needs a win, And Jeremiah Mazzoli is probably coming in, and he looks to stop that. The Red Blacks, off of the British Columbia levels of highs, with their win last week against the Edmonton Elks, get their first win at home in quite some time, get themselves a win on the season. The Hamilton Tiger Cats hungry for their first win of the season, and this is a game you need to win. This is a game you need to win. You can't lose to Ottawa at this point in time. However, again, you're going to be dealing with the Jeremiah Mazzoli Ottawa Red Blacks, which is a bit concerning if you're Hamilton. And I think this game is going to be very close. I think this is going to be the closest game of the week, personally.
The question is, what Mazzoli do you get?
What Mazzoli do you get?
Because
I think you get back with a vengeance, Mazzoli.
But here's the thing. Before Mazzoli got injured by Marino last year, he was 0-3.
Yeah, but okay. But two of those games were against the Bombers. Let's be fair here. Two of those games were against the Bombers. One of them, he almost beat the Bombers at home in the home opener of the season, where somehow Drew Brown was our Lord and Savior here in Winnipeg, which was the only reason we won that game. If Drew Brown fumbles it there and fumbles the ball like you would kind of expect a guy coming in that cold, that clutch in the game to do, Red Blacks win that game. The next week, the Bombers have a bit of a better performance, but then the following week, the Red Blacks lose again. But the thing is that there was not a single one of those games where you looked at the Red Blacks and you're like, oh, they're out of this. Like, they're not in this game. That's the thing. Mazzoli, whether you're winning or losing, he will keep you in the game. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where that's why I'm saying that, like, the 0-3 record, I think, is a little deceiving if we're talking about Jeremiah Mazzoli's play on his own, as he actually played relatively well in those 3 games, and he was not really the reason that the Red Blacks lost. It was some of the surrounding ensemble around him. So it's one of those things where I think it's one of those things where whether the Red Blacks win this game, whether they lose this game, Mazzoli will keep them he'll give them a fighting chance. So, because I mean, like, who are you guys even putting in a quarterback there?
So we have
you guys using
Schultz. However, we got 2 of our offensive linemen back, so we're not starting 2 rookies on the right side.
Okay, well, that's good.
We have Wood Manzini and we have Van Zyl.
Getting Van Zyl back is gonna be.
I mean, Van Zyl played last week, but he didn't start. But I mean, you have 2 offensive linemen. The only thing that I think that hurts us, is Adelike's not playing.
Yeah.
But you have my boy Cachitonis starting at free safety.
So
I don't know if he's starting yet.
You got your favorite safety going in, so you got it down.
And I'm curious to see how they're gonna play Mr. Loxley, because they have him as number 89. So, are they going to play them as a wide receiver? Or are they going to play him as a backup quarterback?
Yeah. Yeah, when it comes to the Red Black side of things, I'm going to be interested to see what a guy like Demontre Tuggle was able to do. As last week, I have his stats here from last week. He got 126 rushing yards, average of about 7.4. Pretty good for him. I will say I was pretty impressed. And then they have Marco Dubois get the only touchdown receiving that the Red Blacks had last week. Got themselves what's his name? They had Lewis Ward, who went 4 for 4 on field goals, so they were able to do well on their special teams. So it's one of those things where this is difficult because, like, when it comes to overall depth, the Ticats should win that. But then there's the whole thing of Schultz is a bit of a mixed bag. Like, he's not, like, terrible, but he's not, like, amazing either. And he kind of is just, he's there.
If only he can get his accuracy better and not go like 24 for 49 or whatever the numbers were.
If only he would throw the ball to the guy who was trying to catch it.
Hey, listen, he had 345 passing yards.
So when he's on his game, he's on his game.
Yeah, he just has to complete them better.
Yeah, he needs more consistency. That's what he needs. For
the love of God.
Oh.
Throw to other people besides Williams and White, please.
Yeah.
Because that was the topic. I don't know if you watched all 3 games last week, but if you shut down a team's top 2 receivers, your team is going to shit the bed. You saw it with Montreal. You saw it with BC. And that's the whole theory. If you shut down their top 2 receivers, they're not going to go anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they got to spread the ball around.
Yeah, I know that, and that's where, if you're the Ticats, I think you look to do the most damage possible on defense. Defense is where the Ticats' defense is going to be the decider of this game. Schultz will play okay. He's not going to be amazing. He's not going to be just an absolute disaster. But shutting down Jeremiah Masoli and the offense of the Ottawa Redblacks is going to be key here. Because realistically, the Tiger Cats shouldn't be too afraid of the Redblacks' defense, as their defense is pretty run-of-the-mill, you know what I mean? But the offense of the Redblacks is what I would be concerned of if I am a Ticats fan. So if we're thinking about this game,
before you mention your one pick, I'm gonna mention one last thing.
Yep.
Because Mazzoli comes back, Tyrone Adams played with a torn ACL.
That's true.
Against Edmonton, so he is out for the rest of the season.
Yep.
So it all comes back to, is Mazzoli 100%?
I'm gonna say I think he's 100% because he was practicing even earlier. The Redblacks were really taking their time with Mazzoli. He's been out for a while, and I think it's very much kind of like the situation the Alouettes had with William Stanback, in the sense of where he was gone for like a year, and they're like, okay, if he's gone for a year, he can afford to wait another week or two. Because it's one of those things where the last thing you want to do is have him out for a year, rush him a week early, gets injured, and he's out another year. Because, I mean, Montreal dealt with that with Stanback for a while, and then when they decided to take the time on it with him, turns out that was the right move, and now he's stayed healthy so far this season. And so I think if you're the Redblacks, I've heard that they've taken their time with him. Now, you do question the timing of things when it comes to, quarterback just tore their ACL. So there's going to be questions looming. There's a reasonable reason to think that.
It is exactly 1 year ago this week that he went down with that injury. And one last thing before I let you say your pick. Mm-hmm. If Mazzoli goes down with whatever injury it is, you have to depend your rest of your season on Nick Arbuckle.
Yeah, I don't like that idea. I'm sure he's great at ping pong, but I don't like that idea. However, the thing is that
he should give some pointers to Vernon Adams Jr. on how to throw interceptions.
There you go. No, Vernon, he did great at this week. He didn't need any pointers. I am actually
who I'm going with.
I'm actually gonna go with the Ottawa Redblacks. I'll put it this way. I could go either way on this game. I'm more just doing that because stirs the pot. I think this game is within 3-point difference. I mean, like, watch like the Ticats like fucking blow them out or something. I don't know. I'm just like, but I think this will be a really, really tight game. And this is a game that I think I'll probably try to see if I can watch, as I'm excited to see where we're going for this. You're obviously taking the Hamilton Tiger Cats. There's no question.
Yes.
I don't even need to ask you. And our last game of the week, I don't think we need to spend too crazy long on this. Well, we'll see. We have the Montreal Alouettes versus the BC Lions. So we have the battle of the teams who said we thought we had a bye week too last week. The Alouettes thought they had a bye week and forgot to get their offense going, decided that 2 receivers was enough, and then realized that when those 2 receivers were shut down, that we would try going to them anyway, which is why they threw a pick six in the red zone, or a pick in the red zone that would go all the way back, and the Bombers would get themselves a touchdown off that. Their coverage in the end zone was abysmal, I will say. Wolotarski got that ball so easily. Now, if you're the Lions, oh boy, where do we start here?
Fajardo best be running for his life if he's.
we have the battle between the team that can't keep their quarterback safe and the team that does keep their quarterback safe, but he then just throws picks. So it's one of those things where I think Vernon Adams Jr. will have a better game than he did last week. I mean, that's a pretty fucking low bar, but it can't be that bad. It can't be that. It can't be last week, which is why. Although I will say, if this says anything, I actually think this says more about like Dane Evans. Dane Evans is like, he watches like the 4th pick and he's like, we're not putting me. Okay, no, we're not. Nope, this guy has thrown 5 picks now, and we still think he's better than me. And so, just sitting on the sidelines imagining that. But the thing is like, I can't imagine that the Lions screw the pooch as bad as they did that last week, 2 weeks in a row. Now, I think the Alouettes will wake up a little bit, but the thing is that like the ceiling that the Alouettes have for the talent they have on their roster is a lot lower down than the Lions. The Lions, if they get themselves even half put together, they run over the Alouettes.
So a couple of things I read into.
Yep.
So ever since, apparently, if you lose like you do to Toronto, apparently you sell tickets.
Yeah,
Farhan said that after they lost to Toronto, they sold 600 tickets to the home game against Montreal.
Interesting.
And then
that was all the Alouettes fans booking flights to Vancouver, being like, "We actually have a chance, boys. Let's get it going."
I honestly think that Betts will have 3 sacks himself just on Fajardo.
Yeah.
And that BC will have 6 sacks total.
Well, I mean, like
Fajardo.
The problem with the Alouettes is that offensive line is just exploding in front of Cody. And it's one of those things where like just there's no D-line this season that has performed. Like I'm not necessarily going to go off pure star power that they have, but just in terms of the way they've performed, there's been no D-line that has been more deadly than this BC Lions D-line. And there has been no offensive line that has been more vulnerable than this Alouettes offensive line. This is a game where I think the Lions kill the Alouettes with defense. I think the Alouettes struggle to get points in this game. And it's one of those things where they're going to need to just try to always get into field goal range and kick field goals all game, which is a difficult way to do. And they got to hope that they can play some good coverage and get some picks against Vernon Adams Jr. and try to go against the way that they were last game. But I don't know. That's kind of really all I have on this game. Do you have anything left?
I think here's my theory is like if with how well BC's defense is, if they shut down Mac and Julian Grant, I don't see Montreal getting more than
And the Lions
maybe
can
a
do that
touchdown,
easily. But like with
like
the
10
way
points.
with the way that I don't even know if they get 10 points. I don't know. I don't see it. I think that the Lions will decisively win this game against the Alouettes. I think they'll get back to form.
So you take BC, I take BC. So the only ones that we have a different response on is the game tomorrow or later on today.
Yeah, because for
Edmonton
some
and
fucking
Saskatchewan.
reason you believe in the Chris Jones plan. I don't understand it.
No,
Then
it's not. It's not that I don't believe that I believe in the Chris Jones plan. It's I'm looking at the Edmonton schedule.
yeah.
There is no way in HE double hockey sticks that we are losing to them at home next week.
Now that would be something.
And then after
I
that, they play
can't
you.
wait until you guys play the Elks. I can't wait because because like this is like we're gonna be like doing this video and I'm gonna be like, why are you stressing so much there, Rick? Why are you stressing?
Because then after us, they play you guys at home. And then they play BC at home.
That's an ouch.
And then they have a bye week. And then they play you guys at their stadium. So if they're going to beat anyone, it's going to be Saskatchewan this week.
Yep. And I still don't think that just because if they're going to beat anyone, it's going to be this guy, doesn't mean that they're going to beat that guy. It doesn't make the odds any better.
I mean, Saskatchewan's like, I'd hate to be the injury team staff right now with all the therapy that they have to do with their long list of injuries.
All the watermelons they got to hand out. Jesus. But yeah, I mean,
that's all I have.
So that's essentially what we got for this week. We got a long video out of this one. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe if you guys have not already. Comment down below your thoughts on some of the teams, on some of the games this week, maybe even on last week's games. But we have a 30-minute video on that you can do there. And maybe you can make comments about what it was like seeing Rick wear an Argonauts hat in the last video. And you can ridiculously ridicule him for that because that's fun, nice and fun. And until next time.